Hey everybody, this is Ermantourage. Thank you so much for being here. It is Saturday, September 19th. As you have noticed, the entire day we've been doing a lot of Zoom sessions with a variety of guest speakers in film, television, and activism. It's something we'd like to do with our platform. We just like to give back to different organizations that are doing major things in the world. Today we have Garry McIntosh, who is the development manager of Operation Underground Railroad. You can see here. Please add them, Operation Underground Railroad, or Rescue on Instagram, or Rescue with an @ sign. There's no @ sign in here, but you know how it goes. So please check them out at our Rescue on Instagram. Without further ado, our mission is to shine a light, worldwide on the global epidemic of child sex trafficking. I think did we lose Garry? Oh no, we lost Garry. I'm gonna pause this real quick, guys. Hey everybody, this is Ermantourage with Ermantourage. Thank you so much for being here today. It is Saturday, September 19th. As you have seen, we've been doing a lot of Zoom events throughout the entire day. We are an entertainment industry community, but we like to give back to different organizations who are doing major things in the world. So today, this is the big one. This is the Zoom session of the day. I think a lot of people have been looking forward to this one of all the events. We have Garry McIntosh, who is the development manager of Operation Underground Railroad. You may have heard of O.U.R. It's been spoken about a lot in the last few months on social media and media. A lot of people are talking about it, so please check them out on Instagram. Follow our rescue. That is O.U.R. Rescue on Instagram. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Garry. But first, let's talk about O.U.R. And actually, let's reel it back just a little bit. We do have sponsors we want to thank before we talk to Garry. So shout out to our sponsors, Big Game Management and JSLA Events. JSLA Events is producing and directing the next Haters Virus event on October 17th to raise money for creatives in the Asian American Pacific Islander community. So please check them out, JSLA Events. So without further ado, we have Garry McIntosh of Operation Underground Railroad. Our mission is to shine a light worldwide on the global epidemic of child sex trafficking, and in doing so, rescue more children from slavery and assist law enforcement to seek justice for those who violate children. We place survivors on a path to recovery by Operation Underground, partnering with vetted aftercare providers. So everyone, please give a silent round of applause to Garry McIntosh.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. It's really good to be here.
Love your background, sir. You're on the road. This is what you do. This is what you do day in, day out. I love it. You've committed so much of your time to tackling something that's a big evil. It's something that's lasted. It's not current. It's not just happening now. It's been going on for, I can't even tell you how long, but it's been going on. So we applaud you guys for what you do. As everyone knows, just by turning on social media nowadays, people are talking about human trafficking a lot. And some people can tie it into conspiracy theories and all that stuff, but if there's anything that we can take away from the conspiracies, that people are talking about human trafficking. So that's a good thing, right? So Garry, talk about your work with O.U.R, how you got involved, when you started with the company, all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found out about O.U.R a couple years ago. We have a documentary out. It's called Operation Toussaint. You can find it actually on YouTube now. And that really kind of details the foundation story of O.U.R. So as you mentioned, we exist to rescue children from sex trafficking. And in my opinion, it's the darkest corner of our humanity. So we have operators all around the world. And you mentioned, this is what I do. I'm traveling. And to be honest with you, I wish my job didn't even exist, right? I wish that I didn't have to get here in front of you folks and talk about these heinous crimes that are happening. And second to that, we have operators around the world who are going undercover. They're infiltrating these child sex trafficking rings, and they're pretending to be buyers of sex with kids. And they do that to gather evidence and to eventually arrest the traffickers and rescue kids who might be exploited in that situation. And because of the people, they are the people that they are, their identity is entirely confidential. So that's why you have me today. I'm not an operator. I don't have military background experience, but I do get to shed some light on the work that these are doing, and also some hope some hope that we have had an opportunity to rescue survivors, and we haven't had an opportunity to provide aftercare resources for them as well.
So before we dive into what the company does, let's talk about you, development manager. What does that entail as a career?
Yeah, so I work a little bit on, strategic partnership. So we're a completely funded organization. So we rely on private donors. We rely on partnering with corporations to fund our missions and fund our aftercare needs. And so my responsibility is connecting with new potential partnerships. And then also the part of my role that I really enjoy is I get to thank those who have already chosen to support our mission and support our cause. So I've been with the group for about 6 months, actually. I mentioned earlier that I've been following them for a couple years, but I had the opportunity here recently this year to join the fight and be a part of this team. And so I'm really grateful for that.
And so this may have been a statistic that has changed in the last few weeks, but the last one I saw was 4,000 survivors. So congrats on hitting a 4,000 survivor, because I mean, just rescuing one is great, but dang, 4,000 is humongous. So let's talk about numbers and figures, because people may look at the numbers of human trafficking and go, oh my God, how is going on below under our nose, right? So let's talk about the numbers. What is I think I saw in the billions. How much is human trafficking in terms of how much money it rakes every year?
Yeah, so there's an estimated 30 to 40 million people enslaved worldwide. About a quarter of those are children, and they're sold for organ harvesting, they're sold for labor, and of course they're sold for sex. There's about 2 million children in the world sold for sex, and several 100,000 even right here in the US. To your question, it's $150 billion a year industry. And we did a little research on that because, like you, I have no context for a number that large. That's Dell, that's Starbucks, and that's every single NFL team combined. It's also the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the history of the world. So it's surpassed the gun trade, and it's projected to surpass the drug trade. And we get the question all the time, why? Why is it so prevalent? Why is it growing so quickly? And the reality is that you can sell a bag of cocaine once, you can sell a precious child 5 to 10 times a day for years.
That's crazy. And what would you say are the biggest hotspots in the United States?
Yeah, so really, honestly, any city that has major intersecting highways, you're going to get a lot of trafficking happening in those areas. Along the West Coast, of course, there's many cities in California that rate highest for tips to the national hotline to missing and exploited children every year. South Texas is a hotbed, even on the East Coast as well, your port cities, South Florida. And, we work with law enforcement in 28 states here in the US. And we have concurrent operations in almost every single one of those states. So the need is huge, and it's certainly not only minimized to these major cities.
Now, you mentioned getting tips. Can you break down what happens when someone calls you guys and say, hey, I think something's going on in this building? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so we always partner with law enforcement, right? So we're not vigilantes. We're not going to break down doors and go places we shouldn't, because we're a nonprofit, right? We're a private organization. We don't have jurisdiction to make arrests. So our strength has long been founded on very good relationships with law enforcement. And basically, our guys are going undercover. They're acting as consultants, informants. And this public-private partnership allows us to be really agile. It allows us to supersede jurisdictional issues that you have internationally and domestically. So if an individual is trafficked across borders, O.U.R actually has the ability to follow that case, and they won't be limited to those jurisdictions. It's one of the reasons why this organization was founded in the first place, is because our operators, as government agents, kept running into jurisdictional issues. And so we partner with law enforcement. We provide them with operators. We provide them with technology. We provide them with training and consulting to teach them how to effectively combat this issue in their area.
Amazing. I would love to know, what are some telltale signs that somebody's a trafficker? Because, we could be hanging out at the club and something's going on the side, and this guy is yelling at this woman, and there's a lot of things are going on that we just don't recognize that could be trafficking. So what are some telltale signs that something's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not law enforcement. I'm also not a clinician, so I'm certainly not the expert on this. But if you would like to know more about that question, you can find more info at our site. Our leadership is actually going to walk you through knowing the signs of trafficking. On this call, for the scope of that question, physical abuse obviously is always a telltale sign. Individuals who are separating from their family and friends more and more because of particular relationships, and perhaps that boyfriend or that girlfriend is manipulating that person to move away from those relationships. Markings, of course, very unique markings. You see, barcode tattoos and things like that, and that really does happen. Branding marks is huge as well. But listen, a lot of this activity is happening online. 85% of all trafficking cases actually start these days on the internet. And we know that we live in a digital age. And so what's really important too, and I always tell parents this, is that you got to know what your kids are doing. It's not only the vulnerable teens that are getting trapped in situations like this. It's the most popular girl or most popular guy in school sometimes. What happens is you have these what are called Romeo type traffickers who are manipulative, and they groom these kids into thinking that they're special, and hey, just send me a picture, just send me a picture. And then all of a sudden, now I have this picture. I need you to do this for me, or I'm going to release this picture to your parents, to your church, to your school. And this is the kind of thing that's happening all the time. So it's really important to practice online safety as well. I always mention that when somebody asks me about know the signs of trafficking, because this is a digital age, and that's a huge component of it as well.
Absolutely. Now, what I love about O.U.R is that there's also attention to aftercare. It's not like you're just like, okay, we're saving people and then see you later. You pay attention to aftercare. So talk about what aftercare is and why it's important.
Yeah, aftercare is so important. It's such a complex issue when individuals are pulled into these trafficking relationships. And it's really important that, especially with minors, that if reunification with family is not available, that they have aftercare resources available to them. That's professional counseling, that's psychiatric care, that's even tangible things like food, clothing, shelter, etc. So every time we rescue a kid, in fact, we will not rescue a kid until we know for certain that we have an aftercare bed and home available for them. So every state that we work in and every country that we work in, the first thing we're doing is we're vetting aftercare homes to support the operation side of what we do. And so we have two individuals who are amazing on our aftercare team. Jessica Moss, our director of aftercare, is traveling 6 months out of the year to every single aftercare home that we support, and visiting with our survivors and making sure that they have what they need. You mentioned earlier that we had reached our 4,000 survivor. We're actually in support of over 6,000 survivors in aftercare. So we support even more on the aftercare side than we've even rescued. And that's just a testament to how important that is for us as an organization.
Absolutely. Now, Gary, I can talk to you about this all day, but we do have questions in the group chat. So I'm going to turn it over to the audience. I'm going to intersperse my own questions in there every now and then, but we do have audience questions coming in. So up first, we have Michael, followed by Nancy.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Michael.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for all you do. Just to preface my questions, I have it's kind of a two-parter in a sense, but actually, no, not really. It's two-parter, but I'm actually a survivor myself, both of childhood abuse and I was drugged and kidnapped as an adult as well, and I escaped out of that. I was able to get the person, a serial child rapist, jailed and put away, and he died in prison. I found out. I had a similar experience to Maya Angelou where I thought my voice killed a man, and so it kind of messed me up for a really long time. So I'm really happy to hear about your aftercare and how you care for people afterwards, because that's of utmost importance. The physical part is the least of our worries in the end of the day. So I'm really dedicated to these causes, which brings me to sort of my question. It's more of if you would have either privately or separately information or contact info. I'm also a children's author, and part of my cause is to ally some of the profits and proceeds I'll be launching in March of next year to O.U.R, and as well as Beyond Freedom and Another Cause for Kids, Make a Film Foundation. And so if there's any information that I can have to who to contact over at your organization to help to do that, I would love that, as well as for myself to get involved, either physically or just on the other side. I already donate and I already spread awareness, but as far as to actually get involved more, I am trained in law enforcement and that kind of stuff too. And I come from a military background of my family and whatnot, so I'm very interested in doing that. So that would be very helpful if you could reach out, or I can reach out to you. And then the other thing was, I know that you're a rep in that manner. I don't know if you can answer this, but in my experience, I had an ex who was basically trafficked by a celebrity in Hollywood when she was 18, and a lot of people that I've met in Hollywood and elsewhere, there will be these women who, they don't really have much place to stay usually. Usually when you see them, they're always traveling. They're always putting pictures on Instagram from something on a boat somewhere, and then they never have any money. They're always like very cryptic with everything. And I don't know how many of that is indicative of being trafficked or not, or if that's just people exploiting their own bodies or selves for something, out of fear. But I don't know if you have any insight to that through the organization that might help to identify and help with that.
Yeah, so just want to kind of backtrack to where you started, and thank you for sharing that, sharing your background and sharing your history. That's probably, in my opinion, one of the most powerful ways to combat this issue is just to be open and honest about what's been experienced, what's happening. And so I just want to encourage you, Michael, to continue raising awareness for kids so that they don't end up in the same situation that you are in. So thank you for that. Thank you for your bravery and your courage. I really mean that. The second thing is I put partnerships at OURrescue.org. That email is in the chat now. And yes, please reach out to us regarding any partnership ideas, any fundraising ideas, event ideas, awareness events and things like that. We're open to all of those opportunities. And then Michael, be sure to just mention that that you had talked to me and I directed you that way, because I want to connect with you on the back end as well. And to your point, so I think you said it right. I mean, there's so many psychological complexities to these cases sometimes, and every situation is a little bit different. But that's certain. You mentioned some things that could certainly be a telltale sign. And then you have to remember that there's people who don't even realize that they're in a situation like that. They don't realize they're being exploited. They don't realize they're being trafficked. And so that's why it's really important for us as a community to continue to raise awareness about this issue. So I don't know if that directly answered your question, Michael, but if not, I certainly do appreciate you sharing, and wish you all the best. Please reach out to us. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I appreciate that. I got the partnerships email, so I'll reach out definitely. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Up next, we have Nancy, followed by Maria. Nancy, you're on.
Hey, hi. Thank you. And Garry, thank you for what you're doing. My question is about, I'm actually working on an action script that has human trafficking as part of one of the main components. And I've done research and things like that, but I've run into some like roadblocks with my knowledge on how the operations go. So like right now I have like one CIA agent working with a local police officer, but I'm not sure exactly, like from my research, if that's how it would be. I know that there's like teams that do that as well, so that's an aspect, but for not making it frivolous, basically, I'd like to make sure that I have my facts straight. And I was wondering if you could suggest like resources for research, and also I guess maybe like the best ways to kind of incorporate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple places top of mind for me is make sure that you do a little bit of research on Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. So you're right about the fact that a lot of times federal and local or state law enforcement will collaborate on issues like this. because again, we talked a little bit about jurisdictional issues. A lot of times we're dealing across state lines, so it does require a team effort and a lot of collaboration there between federal and state officials. You can find a lot of info on the Department of Homeland Security site as well. And they literally break down, definitions, who's involved. And I think another resource or another thing to look out for would be on the legislative side and social work side as well, because oftentimes in these cases, there are so many teams involved along the chain. It's not just about law enforcement, but prosecuting it and district attorneys and social workers, making sure that those kids get placed in safe areas, making sure that adults have resources as well. We're talking about adult trafficking. So there are definitely a lot of parties involved, and ICAC and Department of Homeland Security would be a really good start for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question, Nancy. Up next, we have Maria, all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. Maria, you're up.
Hi, Emma knows me. I actually am a former survivor of sexual abuse, and where my founder of mine has launched, and I've had the amazing opportunity to interview this amazing guy, and his interview is going to be on. We've got a non-for-profit TV channel that's going to be launching next year. I've talked to a lot of organisations that do work with human trafficking to stop young women, but there's also young boys that have been human trafficked. And so I've listened to a lot of the stories. I empathise because I've never been human trafficked, but I have suffered sexual abuse, and I'm a children's author. So I'm always about advocating as filmmakers and producers, we have to advocate for children and make sure children are safe across the globe. Doesn't matter what country we're from. So I'm also working with the International Court of Justice for abuse and kidnapped children, so I'm helping them out as well. So it's really important that we do reach out, and what your organisation is doing is amazing. So I think I just can't thank you enough for what you're doing. You shouldn't have to be there, but the biggest prevalent, what I found when I was doing research, is the internet is the biggest issue. And I saw, like, especially in the Philippines, there's so many children in the Philippines are being sex trafficked, cyber sex trafficked on the internet. And there's like, I even saw there was a 6-month-old little baby that was put up to be abused, to be raped, and I saw this and I thought, oh my God. So that's, people don't realise, and there's people from Scotland, there's people from the UK, people from America, and there's also the Homeland Securities are in, like, they're also in, like, the Philippines. And when I was talking about the human trafficking, it was countries like Australia that they're working in Australia, and they're working in all Asia, and there was also India as well. And so with a non-profit for TV channel, what we want to do is put all these people, organisations together to collaborate together, so that hopefully one day I'll be able to interview your organisation for the channel and just get awareness out there. But what do you think the biggest threat to young, because a lot of people talk about girls being human trafficked, but they don't talk about boys. And there's 80% of women, children, it's girls, but there's so many boys being human trafficked as well. And they forget that, and I don't think this is prevalent. Do you think that's the case, or do you think that people think it's only girls and forget about boys, or do you think they know?
Yeah, I think I hear a lot when people are even just describing human trafficking, they're usually referring to women and young girls. But you're absolutely right. There's a large percentage of individuals being trafficked who are also boys, and that TV nonprofit TV channel sounds great. Feel free to reach out to us when you
thank you.
up and running, and that might be an opportunity we can connect as well and help get the word out. So O.U.R works in 26 countries. around the world. We're in Southeast Asia. You mentioned the Philippines. We're in some other countries there in Southeast Asia as well. We work in Central Africa. We work in South America. We work here in the US, obviously. And we just moved into Europe. We moved into Eastern Europe and started doing some work in Ukraine.
Yeah, there's a big prevalence in Eastern
Yeah.
Europe. Really, it's really bad. But there's also a prevalent in the UK as well. People don't see that, but there is a prevalent in the UK. There's a lot of young kids being human trafficked in the UK, and I see it. And as a filmmaker and content producer, that's something that I have to put out there. And it's just something, it's horrible that we have to, but we have to save children. And it's not just children, it's there's so many different people, different ages being human trafficked. And it's got to, and Beyond Borders is an amazing organisation as well. So thank you for what you're doing and representing them. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Up next, we have Albert. Actually, Albert, I'm going to ask on his behalf. Albert wants to know if there's any headquarters in the LA or OC area. I know the main headquarters is in Utah, but is there anything in LA or the OC area, Garry?
So in terms of offices and things like that, we do have for tax filing reasons, we have an office in Southern California. But I think probably what would be more meaningful for you all to know is that we have lots of needs all over the US for volunteers. So you can go to our website, and I alluded to earlier a training that's available there. Once you take that training, you can actually sign up to be a volunteer with O.U.R. And we have Facebook groups that are geographically located all across the US. And we have teams within, we have an Orange County team, we have an Anaheim team, we have a San Diego team, we have a Arizona team, we have teams on the East Coast. So, find a team, O.U.R. Volunteers Facebook group, find a team within that group, and that we have, folks who are activated and helping us to raise awareness, helping us to raise funds, helping us to establish partnerships that we need with local legislators and law enforcement offices as well. So there's lots to do as a volunteer, and I would really encourage you guys to join as well.
Garry, what would you say is your next, the next part of your vision? Moving into 2021, what does O.U.R. want to tackle next? Or is there like something they want to do that they haven't been able to do prior to this year? Yeah,
so we talked a little bit about kind of survivor stats. I think what's most important about that is that things are generating momentum for us. So we rescued our 2000th survivor in early 2019. And that took 5 years to achieve that mark. And now, just not even 2 years later, we've doubled that amount. So the need is growing, the awareness is growing. Law enforcement departments are getting more comfortable with working with O.U.R. And so, from a vision standpoint, we're looking to cover more areas here in the U.S. and provide even more support domestically. We get the question a lot, why doesn't law enforcement care about this, or why aren't they prioritizing it in their community? And at least in our experience, that's not the case. It's not that they don't care about it or they're not prioritizing. It's that there is so much need that they're reacting to crimes that are happening in their community. And the work that we do is very proactive. It's very similar to, right? We call it phishing, right? It's very similar to what you've seen in movies, where somebody's trying to infiltrate the mafia or infiltrate a drug trafficking ring. So it takes time to establish those relationships. It takes time to gain trust of criminals, which is really what we're doing. And it takes time to put on, sting operations, online sting operations, and that sort of thing. So it's very proactive work. And those are ways that we have been very effective in supporting law enforcement and being able to tackle those issues in those communities. So from a vision standpoint, like I said, we just expanded into Eastern Europe. There's so much need. We need to cover more ground internationally and more ground domestically.
Well, Garry, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you, and we're learning so much about the cause and what's really going on in the world. But before we go, is there one final statement you can leave with us? Something, I don't know, maybe something inspiring, something that we can actually take something away from this and say, okay, well, I'm ready to take this on. I want to do more. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so the name Operation Underground Railroad. So obviously we draw a lot of ties from the Underground Railroad. In the U.S. we like to say that we eradicated slavery, and perhaps that's true in policy and law, but it's not the reality of millions of people here who are now in slavery in the U.S. and around the world. So we think it's really important to activate as a community, activate as a nation even. And this is such a fast growing criminal enterprise that it's really going to take millions of people coming together, and it's going to take this being in mainstream media. It's going to take us posting about this on social media and just getting people to wake up to this issue and really take a look at it. One of our favorite heroes from the Underground Railroad, her name is Harriet Beecher Stowe. And side note, I said I was in Maine. I'm actually in the same county that Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin was the first widespread publication that really took a look at the atrocities of slavery. If you were in the North in those days, you probably knew that slavery existed, but perhaps you hadn't encountered a slave. It wasn't in front of your face, so to speak, the atrocities and the injustice that was taking place. Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote this book to change that. And we want to do that today. We want to do that for modern day slaves. We want to raise awareness and get the word out so that people can come to their side, come to their aid, and so that we can end the injustice of modern day slavery.
There you have it. Thank you so much, Garry, for your time. It's been a pleasure. Everyone, please check out Our Rescue, OURrescue.org, and on social media at Our Rescue, OURRRESCU.